Hi all, welcome back, and tonight I'm going to be taking you through a little bit about converting designs for foiling. Okay, so I'm going to start a new document and I'm going to use one of my presets to do a 12 by 12 mat. Okay, if you haven't seen an Affinity stream before, let me know and I will quickly talk you through how to set up this document. Oh, and say hi in the comments as well, that would help.
Okay, now look in the other room in a minute for you.
Is it not coming up on there? No. Okay. I can wait. So, hopefully you've seen the stream that we've just done with magazines. We have a few left, so if you are interested in those, my advice is go sooner rather than later. Okay.
I can see, Jane. You good?
Cool. Thank you. So, while Ian grabs me a drink, just going to zoom in. And I'm going to start off by adding a box in which to frame my design. So, and here we have our sizes. So I'm going to go for just a plain old A5 box. Okay. And I'm going to put a stroke on it and I'm going to get rid of the fill. Okay, that's going to be my guide. And eventually you might want to keep that in for cutting your panel. If at any point you want me to slow down, just say the word. So, just to help us out, I'm going to take that there and I'm just going to lock it because I don't want to be moving it around when I'm working. So, let's go for a happy birthday today, shall we? Let's take that straight.
Oh, we have Sue Lakin says hi.
Hi Sue. Excuse the chocolate drink, but it's a bit warm up here. So I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. And let's go for... Actually, let me move my text over just so you can see what I'm doing. Would help. So, I don't remember what it is. So we can go through and we can scroll through and it will live change the font for you, so you can literally scroll over the top. And what you're looking for when we're doing this isn't the outside line, you're looking at the central line of the shape. So you're looking for how happy you are with the actual proportions, that's the word I'm looking for, of the letters. And let's go for... Let's go for that one.
This is her first time watching.
You'll have fun, I promise. I'm not that scary just yet. So I'm going to make it that bit bigger.
If you do have any questions, Sue, don't be afraid to ask. If you want Natalie to do anything again, just ask away. I'll relay them to her.
So I'm just going to lower the opacity because I'm basically going to use this just as a guide. Okay, so first of all I'm going to put in what's known as the baseline, and this is literally the line that your text sits on. Okay, and you'll notice that your A bowl, which is the bottom curve here, and your P bowl actually drop below your baseline, while your Y actually sits above it. Okay, so you want to start thinking about when you're tracing your centre line, how is that going to work? But we've got a nice easy letter to start with, which is a H, and that's where we're going to begin. So with our H, we're going to drop in another guide, and that's where our ascender goes to. Okay. And we'll drop in a centre line for our H. You can see now why that lock is so handy. Okay. Then we're going to bring in a vertical guide that again we want to sit in the middle of our vertical. So far so good. And then we can go to our pen tool. Now what I will do before I go anywhere, if I just do that, we can start a new layer, and we'll call it foil text. Okay, and I'm going to drop my curve into that layer. So this is going to keep all our lines together rather than grouping. Okay, so then we're going to do the same here. And we're going to go. Now if when you zoom in you're finding that your line isn't quite right, we can move it. And we can select our two shapes and we can just extend them. Now the other thing to note is at the moment we have a round cap on our line. Now that cap isn't going to be necessarily where canvas will see the end of the line, so don't worry about that at this point. Don't look at that and think, oh, it's wrong because it's going past your guide. That is absolutely fine. And then we're going to do our little crossbar. Okay, now if I go in here, smooth slightly, so we can just drag that back into our guide. And there's our H. So then we can go to our A's and our P's, and you can see that our bowls go down below our baseline. So compared to the H here, and then you've got this here. So what you have to decide, sorry.
Okay, that's right. Sue says she hasn't used this software, but this is a Serif product. I do still use their Craft Artist program, which unfortunately do not support anymore, apparently.
Yes, unfortunately, yes, it's no longer supported, but so long as it still works, you can still use it, and a lot of the same techniques will transfer across. However, that said, if you want to have a play with the software, Affinity Designer has a 90-day free trial. So while we are all stuck indoors, Serif have put on some really good offers, and they're also supporting their creative community.
It's also half price at the moment.
Yeah, so it's half price to buy on both. iPad is $9.99 and PC and Mac is $23.99 instead of 48?
46, I think.
46, something like that.
47, yeah, something like that.
Okay, so as I was saying, with this line here, if we were to draw it down to this line here, it would look a bit odd because of our H. Okay, so we can just match it up to this line in this occasion. And we can start to drop in a few other guides that can help us. So if we go up to the top, we can drop a halfway point for our A. And the top line for our P. Now, the reason I do that is I want to talk about how we can make these letters interact better. So if we were to literally go through the centre of this line here, in actual fact I'll do it for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So I very quickly go D, P and drop it in down there. Doesn't matter for now. Right, okay, so let's say, oh, that looks right for that letter. If we then go to our P, your first instinct is to go, right, okay, we'll go up to the top of the P. And straight away, oh, we've got something odd happening between here and here. So what you first of all need to decide is which bit of the design you're going to compromise. Is it going to be the height here or the height here? And 9 times out of 10 you might do a bit of both. So if I take my node tool, and just go back to this line here. If we were to take that up to there instead, we'd actually get a much better flowing line for our foiling. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We're going to go from our middle point here, go up to the top and back down. And just going to move that in first. I just clicked on my end point and it continues the line. Okay, and again here we have something odd going on, because if we do that but our A bowl comes down here, we're going to have this weird flicky up bit. So again, we're going to bring it down, and just to make it look right, we're going to bring this line here down to the bottom. So far so good. So I'm going to go back to my pen tool and we're going to click on our line because we want to join back up to here. We're going to do a curve that has a flick on it. And all I'm doing to do these curves is just clicking and dragging to form a curved handle. We're going to come down to this point here, and at this point I'm going to hold shift, and that's going to constrain these handles to either 45 or a 90-degree angle. And finally we can just click back on our line. At any point all of these remain editable, so don't panic. Now this is our next weird one, because we're following the centre of the line. It actually isn't in line with this point here anymore. So we're going to move that across there. And we can again use shift to constrain on our handle. And we're just going to increase the size of the ball. Okay. Have I lost anybody yet? You're not allowed to hold up your hand in. So, I'm going to click back on this end point, and we're going to press and hold shift. Okay, and we're going to click back here. And the reason I've done that is then, if we click off, we can always go back into our line, and at any point we can just add a new node. All it is just a simple click with your node tool. Okay, at this point you want to zoom out, and you want to just compare the width of this character to the width of this character. And the easiest way to do that is to literally grab that, and I'm just going to group it for now, and we can actually take it across and we can see whether the character looks right or not. So you can see it's a little bit narrower than our A. Now your options are, you can adjust the A to be slightly narrower, or we can adjust this P outwards. So what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to go into the bowl of my P, and I'm just going to take it out to that line. And because I'm lazy, all you're going to do is just duplicate it. So if you do a Command and J or Control and J on the PC, we can just duplicate it and we can drag it along and place it again. Okay, so we have and now we just need to do the Y on the end.
I'm here.
I didn't even say Siri.
No, you say Command J. Go away, Siri.
Okay.
Okay, so what we could do here to make our text look a bit more balanced if we wanted to is actually bring this Y down to here so that it matches our other letters. Okay, so if I zoom out, so we've taken our Y line down to here. Now that decision is entirely in your hands. You can even try a few things out, see where you like them. So if you're not sure about whether that's the right thing to do, we can just go back into the line and it will always snap back to this line here. So whenever you have that yellow line, you know you're on the right track.
Okay. Tell if you want.
Okay. So now we can take that word and we can group it all. And we can even call it happy. So now I can take my path tool and I'm just going to do a lovely curve. So I'm just going to use my shift. And take that across there, I think. So I've got this lovely swoosh. And I'm going to go back to my text tool. And if we hover over that path, you'll see that our text gets a little swoosh underneath it. Now, that little swoosh is just how it looks whenever you go over a path. That's not saying that that's the swoosh you're going to type on. I just seem to have done an awfully good knack there of replicating it. Okay, so we're going to put in birthday. And it's going to need to be a lot bigger. So let's go 72. And let's choose a nice font. What should we go for? Something a bit different. Let's go for that one. So you can see in here it's got a bit of a weird spacing issue going on, and it's probably from back there. So if we go into View Studio Character, we can then start to see all our text editing tools, and you can see that we can play with the space between characters. So we can start to actually increase the space. And we'll ignore the gap between the H and the D for a moment, because we can always go back and alter that after. We just want it so that we have enough space between our IRT and H. And we'll just put that button up for now. Oh, not that one as well, just one. There we go. I'm just going to do that B, so about 160 as well. And just going to take that down just a little bit. No. just here, I'm going to alter this top number so that I can just do it on an individual basis. Oh, hold on. And let's try that. Just want to take it up a little bit. I don't want it to go in it quick. That's a bit better. Just take that one down a bit.
Don't forget, if you do have any questions for Natalie, you can pop them in the comments below.
Okay, so we now got our birthday, and I can alter that to go up there, and I want to take that out of that layer. And we lock it, and we'll drop the opacity down. So going back into our full text layer, we can start to play a bit with how we actually do this. So our really obvious lines are our thin lines, and for those we're just literally going to go down the middle. Okay, just zoom right in, just to make my life a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to go like so. And out there. Going to go from there. We're going to do a curve, and we're just going to go to a straight. And I'm just going to use Shift to constrain it to the 45. Who asked you? Okay, so we now have our first curve. Now comes for the fun bit. So I'm going to go from there, and I'm going to go all the way back over here. Okay, and I'm just going to bring that line, using our node tool, just going to select this node so that we have our yellow line. Okay. Then we can do copies of this line. Which means that instead of relying on the machine to do the fill for us, we can actually start to control our fill for ourselves. So if we don't want to put a line on this end, we don't have to. But what I will do is we can actually start to shape this line. So I want to use Shift so I can constrain it on the original path. So it's pink. And we can start to do a funky little foiling pattern. Now for everything that we do up here, we can mirror it for down here. Have I lost anybody yet?
No, you're doing alright.
Okay, I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to group it, so otherwise it spreads out for your layers and it becomes a nightmare to try and handle. I'm going to flip it, and then I can just rotate it so that it follows the line. Take it back so it lines up with our central point here, and again we can just edit this line so it goes onto our yellow line. And this is how we can start to play with text and actually creating our own shapes. Now, if I was to do all those, you'd probably get bored awfully quickly. So what I will show you are some other ways that we can actually work with these. So, other ways that we could treat the same character. I'm going to do it nice and simple. We could just do a outline block and a little line. We could then, let's do something different with this one that would be funky. Okay, who says that it has to stay with the original? You can actually start to do so clicking at the end of our line, where I can actually create a bit of weight variation in our line. Now remember, whenever we want a curve to look nice, we want to try and keep the space between this handle and this handle equal. I'm just going to click off that because I don't want it to continue that line. And we can start to do something a bit different again. So we can actually start building more organic shapes. And let's go to another letter that might work for what I'm thinking. Don't forget, at any point you can go back and you can always change font. Just unlock it first. Go to your text tool so that it's highlighted, and then we can change it to something else. What should we go for? Let's go for that one. So let's say you've got something a bit more scripty you want to work with, and we'll ignore what's going on over here. It's just where the text has gone off the end of the line, and we can start instead to fake a change in the pressure of the foil pen. So whether you're using the Quickie Glue pen or if you are using the foil quill, what you do want to bear in mind is if you are doing something like this where you are faking the pen pressure, you only ever want to keep it at that scale. Otherwise, once you start taking things out of scale, you're going to end up having fills not working and things like that. So I'm just going to join this up with a little bit of a flourish at the end. Okay. Now what I would do here is I would make sure I use the bold tip. Okay. And again, if there's a section of this line that we want bolder still, we can actually draw in an additional line. And always make sure that this point goes back to that yellow line. Okay, so when we come to foil this, it would do your 3 passes so it looks more like a fill, but it's a more organic fill than if you try and just use the fill on the machine, because otherwise it can look streaky.
So this thing, sorry, I'll have to go, but we'll catch up later. Thanks for checking out software.
Okay. I'm just gonna go this one. So as we're aiming for this to be solid here, it doesn't matter that these two are going to cross over. And I'm just gonna duplicate that line. And again, we can just take that point, click a new one, drag it out, and put it in. And then we can do it again so that we match our centre bar. And just going to drag that in, and down here drag this in. And again on this side, we might decide that actually this line is going to have more pressure in it. So instead of going to a consistent point, instead we'll go to a flat point. And that's just as fine as well. Any questions over there?
No, it's looking good.
You're doing this tomorrow, aren't you?
Hmm? I'll foil it tomorrow for you.
You're going to fold it in your, you're doing glitter card, aren't you, in the morning? Tell you what you could do glitter card and the holographic card. Because the holographic card always looks gorgeous foiled.
There you go, I'll do that in the morning. I'll do that on my 10 o'clock feed. 11 o'clock feed.
Well, you can go 10 o'clock if you want. I'll be in the front
No,
room doing me doodle.
No, I can't. I'm not going up against Barbara.
Okay, so you can see that we've already got lots of different letter forms, even just using 2 fonts. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if I delete that one out, I'm going to just take that B, and I'm going to, let's do more. I'm just going to drag that down to match the baseline. So let's say I want to actually do some freehand lettering. So we can start to take a similar approach with our freehand lettering. So the benefit of using the pencil tool in Affinity Designer is we can actually start to use stabilizers and smoothing to actually make our line flow better. So if I turn on the stabilizer, you'll see what I mean. And it actually does a drag, so it actually smooths out your line. So you really have to wiggle it to change direction. Okay? So if I use that, I'm just going to drag it down, and I can just do a lovely little curve. Okay? And let's say I just want to fake a bit of weight, we can go in here and do that. And we can even draw a little middle line. And don't worry if it goes off at this point, because you can always go back and edit it exactly the same way as if you'd drawn it with a pen tool. So we start to actually fill in our design. And we can do the same, just by going up here and back down. And if you do get weird bits at the beginning of your line, you just take them out. And I can take that one out too.
Sarah, have you done or would you consider doing a book on Affinity?
It is on my list. I do actually have a schedule release, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
Which, given all the goings on, we've actually had to rejig. So I'm looking at bringing out a vector book, not in the next release, but the one after. And that will cover Affinity Designer, Illustrator, Inkscape, so long as they've actually managed to find a version that actually works on a Mac, because I'm running the latest OS and Inkscape doesn't seem to like it much at the moment.
You can also do it for the iPad, so I think you've got the
Yeah, and I'll have
Affinity
it.
works on the iPad as well.
Yeah, so I'll have it on the iPad. But essentially, all vector software works the same way. It's just coordinates. So once you get the hang of working with curves, it doesn't matter which software you use. I mean, way back when I started in, well actually there's one I had before CorelDRAW and I can't even remember the name of it. It wasn't a popular one. It was like, do you remember you used to get that really cheap, the cheap CDs from that place in town?
Mm.
And it was like, what, $9.99 a CD?
What format?
Yeah.
If that, $4.99 something.
Yeah. And we got one of those way back. And I'm talking, what, 98?
Mm.
When I first had my PC?
It wasn't a Lotus one, was it?
No, no, but my PC did come with Lotus. But no, I didn't use Lotus for that. Used it for lots of other things, but I didn't use it for that. Used to write a lot in Lotus.
Sarah Lewis has always plenty of curves with lots of laughing faces after.
You and me both. I must be the only person that's going to be coming out thinner out of this lockdown, to be honest.
I'm doing a bad job.
Well, you were losing weight anyway. Can't blame lockdown on that one.
I wasn't trying to.
Just go. And let's go for Now if you wanted to just draw yourself a letter form in basic shapes, you can do. Can't tell what it is yet. I'm just going to convert it to curves as well, otherwise occasionally Canvas can throw a hissy fit with some of the shapes if you don't convert them to curves. It is only occasionally. And I'm just going to put a little flick MIDI and another little flick just down here. But yes, the plan is that we will do a book, but it will be vector drawing rather than Affinity. So I want to cover as many of them as I can. Without being biased, because a lot of what we do is we won't be biased.
Yes, we are independent, aren't we? So we do try and remain
Neutral. We are Switzerland.
Switzerland of the crafting world.
Yeah.
We treat everything as the same, don't we?
Yeah. Well, we try to.
We
try to. But we don't have things just because they're supposedly the best, or because it's the right one for the machine. We'll quite happily try new things, won't we? And
we will. We're quite happy to test things, aren't we?
Yeah.
Don't
Getting
we?
quite used to doing all our testing now.
Yeah, product testing for people.
Yeah. Do a lot of it now. Well, at least we did do up until all this happened. It's interesting doing testing in the current situation, isn't it? So they have to. The rules change somewhat. Just going to move that H over because it's just starting to space out a bit too much. The H is in the wrong place. Oh, come here.
Going off your page, isn't he?
Huh?
Going off your page.
No, I'm not. The page is over here. It's got miles to go yet.
Try and get it to the 15.
Huh?
Try and get to the next 15.
And then just group that one. And just going to go a nice big swoosh. And then, cool, I mean, that was almost the Adobe Acrobat symbol, that. Almost. If you don't have a graphics tablet, they do help.
You don't have to spend a lot of money on them, do you? You don't have to have
No.
expensive ones.
By no means do you have to spend a lot of money on them. I mean, I was lucky when I got mine, I have to say, because, well, I don't know what's wrong with people that sold it to me, to be honest, because it was a brand new model, wasn't it? And they sold it for the same price as the old one. Needless to say, they're no longer around anymore. But you don't have to have the Wacom straight off the bat. So, for instance, Hawaiian do a great entry-level tablet. There's a few others like XP Pen and so forth. XP Pen tend to be better for the sort of budget of going for the screen version.
Everything's shutting off slowly.
curvy. Why? And as we always say, fewer nodes the better. So if you can see somewhere where you can chop a node, chop it.
Bit dramatic.
Hey, yeah. I think we've gone slightly insane with the heat. It's a little bit warm.
So the heat or the isolation, I'm not sure. It's the thought of you having to spend another 3 weeks with me really, isn't it? That's what it is.
If anybody's watched the briefing, you'll have to let us know because we didn't see it. Okay, so we now have our funky text. And I'm just going to shrink up that layer. Pop that in there, good, it's in the wrong place. Get rid of my happy because I don't need it anymore. I'm just going to adjust my layout slightly. And what I'm going to do is just add a few swooshes, ready for Ian to do his thing tomorrow. And I promise they will all make sense when you see what we're going to do.
Yeah, join me for more carnage tomorrow. See what I can break tomorrow.
Okay. So there's our finished design. I'm just
Then
going to
again, next
save
today.
it. And go to a new folder. I'm going to have to sort out these folders. Foiling stream. And call it Happy Birthday. Otherwise it's going to get confusing because I did a foiling stream the other day where I did Happy Mother's Day. But Twitch in its infinite wisdom deleted it, which was very annoying. Okay. So, any questions?
So tomorrow morning I will be back doing glitter card and a little bit of foiling by the sounds of it. Challenge doing that for me. Natalie's back in the afternoon at 2 o'clock doing
That is a jolly good question.
something.
I've got the watercolour one to do tomorrow. Oh, I know what it is. Tomorrow afternoon, if you are enjoying this one, it's digitising doodles. So basically, if you've been joining in with Barbara in the morning at 10 o'clock, or if not, go and catch up quick. We're going to actually show you how you can turn those into digi-stamps for your scanning cup.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. Yeah, don't forget you got Pete at 8 tonight with his Wing It with Pete for his mixed media. And then of course got Barbara in the morning
At
10 o'clock. I'm at 11. Lou at 12. Pete again at 12:30 for his giveaway. Leslie at 12:30.
No, 1:30.
Sorry, for a chocolate baroque. Natalie at 2. Pete at 4. And are we doing a 6 tomorrow?
I think I did put it in for doing watercolour, but I will see how I'm feeling.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. We haven't had a lot of interest in that one, so.
No. Okay. Other than that, keep safe. Have a good week. Have a good night, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Hey.